don't confuse a quarterback that can win games and a quarterback, a franchise, everybody, owner, GM, coach, are all in on we're going to build around him. So 8 weeks ago, there were rumors around Miami. Dolphins were owner, GM, interested in Deshaun Watson, and I defended them. And I still do. Now, this morning, 7-game winning streak, you're all going crazy about Tua. But Mac Jones had a 7-game winning streak. Tua now, 7-game winning streak. Tebow once had a 7-game winning streak. Now, I think Mac Jones is the best of those three. And I do get building around Mac Jones, but you need great coaching. And let me explain this. There is a formula to win with a limited quarterback. And all three, Tebow, Mac, and Tua during their winning streaks, what did they all three get? Great defense. And again, I think Mac is a franchise quarterback with a very low ceiling. Herbert doesn't have a low ceiling. Burrow didn't have a low ceiling. Mahomes didn't have a low ceiling. Josh Allen didn't have a low ceiling. You put more stress on coaches to coach perfectly when your quarterback has a low ceiling. So the Dolphins had one drive scoring TD drive all night. One drive over 40 yards all night. But watch what the coaches did for Miami, and this is why I love them. So Tua, they're deep in their own territory. Tua makes his one big throw of the night. This is his best throw of the night. So Miami coaches now say, okay, let's bring out the tricks. This is scoring drive. What do they do after that? Deception, flea flicker, nice call. Watch the drive. Then they go to a power run, and then they go to more tricks. Then they go to the wildcat, deception. And then at the goal line, what do they do again? They don't put it in Tua's hands. It's more deception to Jalen Waddle. It was a perfect drive with three different elements of deception. Okay, Josh Allen beats New England. 3 separate plays, New England has him cornered, and Josh Allen just makes a play. Lamar Jackson can make a play. Patrick Mahomes can make a play. Kyler Murray can make a play. Justin Herbert can make a play. Joe Burrow can make a play. That's the difference. When you have a limited low-ceiling quarterback, this drive was everything. The coaches looked at that, pinned deep into their own territory, and thought, oh, crap. Tua makes his one big throw, and they go into the bag of tricks. This coaching staff, which is really smart, said, okay, this is our opportunity. Here we go. Saints are reeling. They go to a flea flicker. Then it's the wildcat. Then it's deception at the goal line. They're not rolling Tua out. They're not putting it in Tua's hands. And this morning, I know what you're saying. You're saying he's Tebow. I'm saying Tebow, Mac Jones, Tua. When you have a limited quarterback, these guys can win. Your defense has to be great. You're not going to win shootouts. You're not going to win trailing 14-0. How's Mac Jones second half behind everybody in the ballpark knows he's got to throw? He's an incredibly limited quarterback. That drive right there for Miami had 86 yards. They had 55 yards the rest of the half. So the coaching staff sees Tua's big throw, and they bring the tricks out. They see a backpedaling Saints defense. It's flea flicker. It's wildcat. It's creative. And by the way, all clever throws, but they were all used. They all use them in one series. Here we go. Here's our opportunity. Their one touchdown drive. So I know Miami this morning's we won games. Winning games is different than the owner, the GM, and the coaching staff building. And right now in Los Angeles with Justin Herbert, every draft pick, everything they do in Los Angeles, everything they do in Cincinnati, everything they do in Buffalo or Baltimore, from the coordinator you hire to the receivers you draft, is just to feed the star quarterback. You know you don't have to draft just for defense, to keep the games close, to keep the scoring low. It's different. And I think it's a huge advantage. If you look at the teams at the end of the year that are now flourishing, it's teams that have playmakers. It's quarterbacks that can move. Kansas City, or it's Aaron Rodgers, or it's Josh Allen, or you can't put that much pressure on your coaches to out-scheme the other world's best coaches. And I love Brian Flores. But I'm sitting home watching that drive, and I'm like, I know exactly what they're doing. Tua finally delivers a big ball, and here come the tricks. Let's manipulate, deceive. That's our way to score. The one scoring drive, the one drive over 40 yards. And everybody in Miami today is like, yeah. And I'm like, no, that's not sustainable. Sustainable is Patrick Mahomes. Sustainable is Josh Allen. Sustainable is Justin Herbert. Having to use flea flickers and wildcats and deception to outsmart everybody for your one scoring drive against a good defense, but that's not sustainable. And that's why they were in the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes, and it's why if I was Miami, I'd get right back in them. In the 70s, 80s, 90s, we used to rip football coaches because they were too conservative. They run too much, especially near the goal line. They run too much. 4 straight runs. This guy's a bum. And now, with analytics, we complain when coaches get near the goal line, they pass too much. 4 straight passes? What are you doing? It's too risky. And so maybe we just complain too much and that coaching is hard. Let me defend officials for a second. The NFL is a hard game to officiate. Why? The field's enormous. NBA basketball court's not. A hockey rink isn't. A football field's enormous. Baseball doesn't have a clock. Oh, you got that too in football. People are tackling each other in football. There are piles of humanity, and you're supposed to find the ball and get the right spot using an outdated 10-yard chain. It is the hardest league to officiate by far. A clock, an enormous field. Athletes have never been faster. I got to cover a guard and a wide receiver that runs a 4-3. And by the way, the best coaches teach their players to be manipulative. New England corners are slapping you all the way down the field. So the best coaches also, like a Belichick's been in this league so long and Andy Reid, they know the tendencies of officials and they manipulate the officials. And you want a perfectly officiated game. So losing teams in this league and their fans always blame refs. It's an epidemic. Last night, Saints fans are blaming the refs. So Sean Payton comes unglued. End of the half, the Dolphin coaches are a little bit confused. The refs comes over to explain a situation. It kind of saves Miami a timeout. And then Miami tries a field goal and misses. But there was some confusion, and the ref stepped in to kind of explain it. Sean Payton's coming unglued. And just the Saints fans, it's costing us the game. The game was over in 5 minutes. New Orleans, one of the better, easier bets of the year, Miami. Game was over in 5 minutes. You cannot win an NFL game starting your 4th quarterback against Miami's defense. Ian Book had no chance to win that game. He threw a pick 6 early. Game was over. Game was over. It was all about the spread after that. Go look at the standings today in the NFL. You tell me a single team that is in the playoffs, here are the playoff teams, because of the officials. All 14 of these teams have one of 3 ingredients. Most have 2, some have 3. Either a great coach, a great quarterback, or a great identity. Philadelphia does not have what I would call a great quarterback or a great coach, but they got it. Damn if they don't have an identity. They know, by the way, Tennessee, number 2 seed. Mike Vrabel's a great coach. They don't have a great quarterback, but they have an identity. And they're going to get it back, Derrick Henry, in a couple of weeks. Ask yourself, if you're not a playoff team, do you have a great coach? Do you have a great quarterback? And if you don't like Philly, do you have an absolute identity? Philly does, and they're the last team in. They're not a number 1 seed, not a number... No, they're a 7. And we're still not sure they're going to get in. The refs have, on a macro level, there's not a single team in this league that's going to make the playoffs because of the officials, and there's not a single team in this league that's going to be ousted because of the officials. If you're not in, you stink. You got a B quarterback and a C coach. That's it. Or you have no identity. There are teams with talent in this league with no identity. But all we do now is complain. Coaches run too much in the 80s. Now they pass too much in the 90s. You complain too much. Refs do not decide anything other than occasional individual plays. But when you consider the difficulty, the enormity of the field, people tackling each other, piles of humanity, a running clock, coaches that manipulate officials, well, they should have full-time refs. I agree. They don't. They've never changed outcomes of divisions and conferences and Super Bowls. Ever. And I know you'll probably go to Google now and you'll find this and you'll find that. They don't. If you're not a playoff team, ask yourself 3 questions. How great's our quarterback? How great's our coach? And do we have an identity? And I guarantee you, there's no 3 of 3s that are in the playoffs. I'd look again this morning. I doubt there's a 2 of 3 that are in the playoffs. You're either a 1 of 3 or you're Jacksonville, you're 0 for 3, and you're exactly where you should be. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.